If you just picked up or you're looking at picking up a Sony full frame camera, something like the A7 IV, when you start to price out and look at lenses, you'll realize pretty quickly that they are not cheap. But there are some more budget friendly options out there that will actually rival some of the higher priced lenses too. So that's why I wanted to make this video, to highlight some of my favorite options that you might look at for your first couple of lenses when it comes to the Sony full frame E Mount system. First up is the 50mm f1.8. Now this lens gets a lot of bad press, but I actually reviewed it recently with the Sony A7 IV and I was incredibly impressed by how well it performed. Now a lot of that might be down to the new tech in the Sony A7 IV. I've heard from people that it doesn't work so well on the older Sony cameras, so if you do have an A7 IV, this is 100% a lens that you should be looking at. You can get it for under $200 used very frequently on B&H. A 50mm lens is typically one of the very first prime lenses that people pick up. You can essentially use a 50mm for anything. It's a lens that every photographer, every videographer will have in their bag. And with the A7 IV, the autofocus is nothing to look down on either. It performs very, very well. It's an f1.8 lens, which means you're gonna get that nice depth of field, that bokeh in the background there that you've come to expect with full frame cameras. And as an f1.8, it also means it's gonna be really good in your low light environments as well. So if you start to shoot weddings or events, you're gonna come across in the evenings that things start to get a little bit darker. And that's when you have to kind of lean on your prime lenses so that you can have better low light abilities. So the 50mm f1.8 is an absolute must. I think you should be looking at as one of your very first full frame lenses. Next up, the Viltrox 24mm f1.8. 24mm is a lens, again, that most photographers and videographers will have in their bag. It's wide enough that you're gonna be able to get some nice landscape shots. It's gonna be great for architecture, and as a general events lens, just for walking around, it's a good option too. It's probably used just as much for video as it is for photo, and for video, it's a very popular focal length for using on a gimbal. 24 is one of my favorite focal lengths to use, just as it is so versatile. Now, when Viltrox came out with the 24mm f1.8, I didn't really expect a lot, but as soon as I tried it out, I was blown away by how well it performs, especially when you compare it to the 24mm G Master, which is nearly 4 times the cost. It has decent sharpness across the board, the bokeh is nice, and the autofocus compared to the 24mm G Master, it just holds its own. I'll link the video that I did up there comparing the Viltrox 24mm f1.8 to the 24mm G Master f1.4, and you'll see exactly what I mean. So if you are looking for a 24mm, I'd absolutely go with the Viltrox 24mm f1.8. It offers a huge amount of value while not breaking the bank. Now, if you do have an A7 IV or an A7 III, any lens that you have, when you put it into crop mode, actually gives you a little bit more reach. So essentially a lens can be turned into 2 lenses. So the 24mm actually becomes closer to a 37mm. That's pretty close to a 35, which is another very popular focal length. So a 24 would be probably my first pick when it comes to getting your very first full frame lens. Finally, another prime, an 85mm. Now Sony offers a 85mm f1.8, which does offer great value for $598. Now that might be a little bit steep for you still outside of your budget, in which case again, Viltrox makes it a very budget friendly $398 option. Now this is actually a version 2 85mm. They had an 85mm that came out a few years back and it did so well that they made a version 2, improved a couple of the flaws that it had, including things like faster autofocus. They added a USB port on there as well, so you can update your firmware in the future. And Viltrox in general is really good at allowing you to update your firmware, and they constantly update it. If you're looking for your very first full frame lens to give you the most bokeh that you can get at a decent budget, you should be looking at an 85mm, and the Viltrox 85mm f1.8 version 2 is going to do that. 85mm staple in any photographer's bag for portraits, for events, hugely used at weddings. Anything really involving people looks great with an 85mm. That compression, your background's just gonna disappear. And 85mm is actually very popular when it comes to shooting B-roll for video too. When I first started shooting weddings, my whole ceremony angle for looking at the bride or the groom, I'd pick one, would be shot on an 85mm. Really great lens for shooting wedding videos. And again, if you have an A7 IV or an A7 III, you can throw this into crop mode, get that 1.5 times reach, and it actually becomes closer to a 127mm, so at an event, even more useful. With the A7 IV now being 33 megapixels, the fact that you can go into crop mode and still have a 14 megapixel image with 1.5 times more reach, that's huge. Do not overlook that. That is one of the best features that the A7 III had going into crop mode, and the A7 IV, now with the high megapixels, just a huge feature. Every lens you have, whatever lens it is, becomes 2 lenses in one. Every lens gets 1.5 times more reach. And that works for video as well. Now, if you're thinking, you know what, I actually have a budget that's gonna allow me to get all 3 of those prime lenses, because we're around $1,000 if you were to add all those lenses together, even cheaper if you get them used. If you have that kind of budget, I would encourage you to look at a different option, and that would be an all-in-one, the Sigma 24-70 f2.8. That lens is such a good lens. I've reviewed it twice. I like it that much. Once when I had it on loan, and then I ended up buying it myself. It has a look about it that just, it mimics a prime lens. It's my go-to for, if I don't know what I need to use in terms of a lens, I will grab the 24-70. I'm shooting on the 24-70 right now. It's a lens that offers so much value for such a little amount of money compared to the other options that are out there. It will absolutely rival the 24-70 GM from Sony for a fraction of the price. There's a reason this lens is hugely talked about and so many people own. It's a great lens. So if you have the budget for all three of the lenses that we talked about, potentially look at the Sigma 24-70 f2.8 instead. So that's it. There's three options there that I would recommend you look at when it comes to getting your first couple of full frame lenses, or the all-in-one if you have your budget for all three. Just wanted to make this video to help you out, because you don't have to go and buy the most expensive lenses that are out there anymore. There are more budget-friendly options available. Thanks for watching today. If you're interested in this kind of content, cameras and reviews and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, then maybe try subscribing. Don't forget to hit the like button down below. It does help push this video out to more people. That's that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.